Hello, so it's great to meet you. Who are you?
Hi, Andrea. My name is Kim Guest, and I'm the CEO of Isoshealth. I'm definitely a work in progress, a mum to two boys, spent a long time being a working mum and having some fun growing an accomplished corporate career, but have now left all of that behind and am busy building my own business, something I'm really passionate about, and living the dream.
So how many years were you working as a corporate executive? And why did you change?
When did I change? So I've about 20 working years experience in a managerial capacity, just about over 15 years, including running a national business, managing director of a national healthcare business across the UK. Why did I change? I think opportunity, circumstance, and maturity, I think, the magic ingredients. So finding something that I felt that passionately about was, I think, informed and experienced enough that I really believe I can make a difference and make a change. And personally, having the circumstances, my boys have grown and left home, so I have less responsibility at home and more opportunity, and I'm much more driven to achieve something I really care about, and have a little bit more time on my hands to do that too.
In what way is your working day different, running your own business versus your corporate career?
So different. Um, the pace in corporate life, the pace is hard but consistent. So there's also a regularity to it. So there are often very regular meetings in your diary. Your responsibilities generally have a rhythm. Establishing and setting up your own business from scratch, there is no rhythm. And actually, one of the things I think that you need to do fairly on is establish a good routine for yourself and establish some of that discipline. Being in control of your own destiny and your own time is fantastic. But sometimes in the beginning, you can find yourself waiting for things to happen around you, and you have to mentally shift a little bit and say, this isn't going to happen unless I do it. So it's all good fun.
What were the main obstacles in you doing what you're doing now?
I think the main obstacles to making the change would have definitely been my personal my personal responsibilities. So being a mum, I think doing that at the same time as starting a new business would have been very difficult. I was a single parent for quite a while. That would have been very difficult for me. That might have compromised what I wanted to give to my children. So probably the main obstacle. The other being my network. So having an extended period of time running businesses, large teams, launching digital health products in my past professional career, I have a great network of people that's helping me get right what it is I'm doing with this business. So having had time to do that, I think, is really helpful. And you need a personal support system too. You don't have a boss. You don't have colleagues so much. There's no water cooler to go and stand and have a moan and talk about the last episode of Game of Thrones by. So you need a very different support network around you as well.
So if we can go into some of the business obstacles, if there were any, for example, in convincing people, potentially investors, if you have any of your idea, can you take us through that process?
So, what are the obstacles? I think in my professional capacity, I've been advising startups for a little while. So I'd had a very different point of view of what was going on. That up until, I guess, a period of time of up to 3 years ago. What I find really interesting now is the startup community has become an industry in its own right. It's very confusing. It's very, very confusing. And lots of people professing to be able to get you places quicker You have to be self-sufficient enough to be able to determine what it is you want, whether you need an accelerator program, an incubator program. And for me, the accelerator program I've just been on with Activate Capital has been fantastic. But that took quite a bit of research. So I think it's quite complex. You need to be able to have a plain speaking conversation about what type of investment may suit you, what type of skills, as well as what sort of money you want to see invested in your business. The implications of those things are quite significant. Actually, the very first investor I met for Isoshealth, I turned them down, which is one of the scariest things I've ever done.
Okay. May I ask why?
You may. Straw poll. I've been in sales and marketing and operations for a long time. When I have a good day, there's always a number I want to call to say, you won't believe what's happened. I've just got to really share this great news with you. And from a personality point of view, sharing the board table, achieving these things that are so important to me, I could not imagine myself dialing his telephone number.
So do you think he may have diluted the vision then?
I think it may have been a combination of direction, expertise, but also personality. But those three things, they all have to be right. I don't know the answers to everything. There are other elements of expertise that I need around my board table for the business to be successful. So I have to do lots of learning as well as leading. For that, you need a particular group of people, and you're building your own high-performing team. And that just wasn't right for me. So, yeah, scary stuff.
But brave to turn him down, particularly in the early stages.
Yes, but I don't regret at all.
Can you remember where you were when you first came up with the idea of Isoshealth?
Oh, there's a story behind that. Yes, I can. So the original idea, the original pair of co-founders for Isoshealth with myself, a lady called Abigail Wilson, who unfortunately passed away in May of this year very suddenly. So Abigail sought me out on LinkedIn. She, as a registered dietitian, was very frustrated and determined to solve both a reputational and access issue for her own profession. She could see very much that profession being overtaken by fad diets, by celebrity followings on social media, and was really, really passionate about having the right reputation for her profession. She had a lot of negative experiences due to the fact that she was a woman and wanted to establish a business in, this was 5-6 years ago, so in digital health, a fairly new arena as well. So she very specifically sought out a senior female who was working in the arena and just generally wanted some advice. Well, we put the world to rights very quickly. A close family member of mine had been very ill for a long period of time, type 1 diabetes. So I had been in the situation of needing and need all the sorts of advice that she was talking about. So passionate about digital health, passionate about self-care and enabling people to regain control of their health in their life. So we started to establish the business plan, and I'm thrilled to be continuing that with the rest of my team, my other co-founders, and continuing in Abby's name.
One of the ways in which you distinguish your service from Babylon Health is that years down the line, I know you're going to be initially concentrating on weight loss and nutrition, but years down the line, people are going to be able to have, through your service, a team of health professionals to manage them and to have continuity there. Could you just talk a little bit about that and how you see somebody visiting your platform in 5 years' time using your service?
My vision for both the health professionals and consumers, patients alike, is that our platform will never be very far away from them. Whatever their life event, they may revisit, even on some occasions, the same professional who has offered them both physical, mental, and nutritional health all the way through their life. For instance, as you say, yes, we are focusing on weight management. A third of our teenagers are already obese in the UK, a third of them. And it's a problem that has been reportedly growing at primary school level. So we need to change our behaviour, and we need to be fantastic role models for the children that we are also bringing into the world. And I really do envisage that a parent is able to address issues in those areas with their children and with themselves right from their children's early stages of life, from weaning, for instance, right the way through to some of the nutrition, physical, mental health challenges that are faced as you get older with some of the chronic conditions that we look after. So throughout your life, I encapsulate Isoshealth. We will service clients who want to get well, as in recovering from something, to stay healthy, or indeed to get fit. And the combination of those three professionals do that for a lifetime.
Okay, in 5 years' time, I arrive at the platform. What information do you need from me as a new user? And what are the vehicles through which I communicate with these specialists?
So the first thing that we'd want to know about you were, what were your health goals? They're very personal and very different. Often we set ourselves our goals that can be a little unrealistic. Sometimes those goals are placed upon us by other people, perhaps a doctor suggesting that our BMI is too high and we need to lose a specific amount of weight. So I think it is really important to be able to help someone establish their own goals. Positive mental attitude around your body and taking control of your health is just as important as your BMI statistic. So we will encourage you in that conversation to set those health goals. You will then choose your group of 3 professionals, your personal support team. That team will be able to offer you different packages, different support plans. The support plan that we're starting with in the summer of next year will be for weight management. That subscription gives you 7 episodes of consultation, 4 with a dietitian, 2 with a sports scientist or a physiotherapist, and 1 with a psychologist. All the way throughout that programme, whilst the consultations are individual with each professional, those professionals are sharing their notes. You are communicating with them by sharing documents, pictures, video. You're able to talk to them and communicate with them using text, video, or just audio, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. Those notes are all shared, are all consistently available, so that each professional, as they come in and out of the package, are able to have all of the relevant information and the whole picture. You are at any time during that programme able to spend more time with one of those professionals if you discover something that you actually want to get into treatment about. You may become worried you have an allergy. You may pick up an injury at the gym. You may be suffering some additional stress or anxiety at work. Whatever the situation, that professional is clinically qualified there and able to take you through their own treatment programme.
So you really want customers, users, to think of this service as your health team. You've mentioned that communications amongst those professionals within your team is going to be a unique selling proposition of your service. What about cost? How will you compare to other services similar, and how does this compare to what people get on the NHS free?
So the situation at the moment with regards to the NHS is, even though obesity is a national crisis and part of the 5-year forward plan, being able to gain a referral due to the budget cuts and having a consultation with even one of these professionals is not something you can take for granted, unfortunately. So unless you are morbidly obese or you have other health indicators, such as diabetes, that would mean that you would be eligible for a referral. You generally, having your BMI slightly over, and really, as I said, just wanting to regain control of your health, that's not, in most cases, actually going to be possible, even for one of these professionals. There are some multidisciplinary teams, which is what we're applying for a consumer, is absolutely best practice within the NHS. And if we were able to afford it, I'm sure it would be universally available. Privately, the situation cost-wise would be you'd be seeking out these individuals. You'd be paying for their time individually. Your first consultation is generally double the length of time because you're having to give your history 3 times over, and you will pay for the privilege of doing that. You're going to pay for that health professional's time in doing that. And certainly the opportunity for them to share their knowledge and to share their perspective to help you get to a better and more effective outcome quicker, it is generally not going to happen. So really the only place in a commonly practicing environment that this happens is in elite sport. So this is where exactly the same qualified individuals come together and they do extract a completely different set of effective outcomes for the human body.
So how do you prove to me that you have selected the right people of the right standard? What are the checks that these people go through in order to be evaluated for your service?
That's a really important question, given especially in the area of nutrition. Currently, general consumer advice on this subject is so complicated, and some of the qualifications are not qualifications at all. So a registered dietitian, for instance, has undergone a 4-year degree. The health professionals that we place have a minimum of 3 years operational experience as well, so they are not newly qualified. They've gone through a number of placements, so they have much operational experience as well, which is clearly very important. Consistently, the health professionals are registered with the Healthcare Professions Council, and that's also part of the procedure of them having their own professional indemnity insurance. So in essence, they are all independently practicing professionals, qualified and regulated by a recognised UK body, and we validate those 2 things and the levels of experience before the health professionals join our team.
Going back to my health data, which you now hold, how do I, as a patient or a client, I think is the word that you use on your platform,
yes,
no doubt very deliberately, how do I access those remotely? Let's say if I'm on holiday and I have an accident, and I'd like to get into my file. Am I able to do that? Or do you just, as and when these consultations happen, do you then send me a copy? How does it work? Do you hold my health information vault, or do I hold it from the beginning?
So you will be able to access your information from anywhere, given the fact that you as the client are choosing what to share in the first place. You may very well be choosing to share the output of a wearable, for instance, some kind of quantified self data. And as our platform develops, we will be looking for some automated integration for things like wearable data output. So you are deciding what goes in, you have access to it, and it is held within your, think of it as a clinic space. It is your doctor's consulting room that you go into, and you're inviting those professionals in, the right professional, to have the right conversation with you at the right time. And all of that documentation, the diary, the journal, the photographs, the reminders of the key points of a consultation that a health professional might leave you with at the end of your conversation. All of those things there and readily available for you to log on to in your own space.
You've mentioned that above everything you want your service to be seen as a very human service. The context is that whilst you're offering this, there are all these developments computing with IBM Watson. I was wondering what your opinion of those developments are, benefits and the negatives.
The pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry, they deliver their services within big, well-structured systems. Those systems are under unimaginable stresses and strains that the budgets alone do not solve. The burden that population health is placing upon these systems needs AI. It needs personalised medicine, and all of those developments are vitally important. What we believe is that alongside that, the human relationship, the human consultation, the clinical trained expertise of being able to interpret the data specifically around self-care, everything that enables you to take better care of yourself. 1 in 3 of us born today will live to be 100 years old or over. We will not be pain-free. We will not be chronic disease-free. We need to be able to be better equipped to look after ourselves so that people in need can use the services and the benefits of these developments in AI and in personalised medicine. So when someone is unwell, your flow from your GP through to secondary care and your treatment needs to be quick, effective, and digitally supported, undoubtedly. But there's a whole journey before then. I can stay healthier for longer. I need to be re-educated. I need to be a better role model for my children. And I don't need my GP to do that for me.
So you're the founder of a startup, no doubt working all hours, around the clock. How do you look after yourself?
My team meeting today would have been a good opportunity, Andrea, for you to be a fly on the wall, since my co-founders are, their professionalism include performance psychology, to yoga, mindfulness, cranial therapy, physiotherapy.
But do you have any time for any of this?
It happens. We do practice what we preach.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Been placed in the odd yoga pose. Strategy meetings to stretch out some thinking for sure. But as I was saying to you earlier, the discipline's really important. Your support network is really important. So my partner suggesting I stop for 5 minutes and perhaps go and get some exercise myself is also a really good thing.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your journey to this point? You studied business.
Yes.
Can you take us through, did you like school? Did you like university?
Oh, so I loved school. I absolutely loved reading, a bookworm at an early age, always quite gregarious. Music and motor cars or anything with a petrol engine have also been consistent loves through my life. I didn't get the opportunity to go to university. My parents from very much a working class background, and it wasn't I was prevented from going. It was just not an option that was easily laid before me. I managed to do fairly well at school, did get myself into college, and completed a BTEC which focused on business. I never had a vocation. I always remember being around a lot of people that were always very adamant. They knew exactly what it was they wanted to do, and I was really never very sure. I was often a fixer, quite vocal, and those strengths led me into sales and marketing, really. The college had a really close relationship. It was in Milton Keynes, and had a really close relationship with the head offices that were based there, and one of which was Audi Volkswagen, who were joined at the time and not separate companies. So hence I left college and went straight into the world of work.
And you moved up the ranks very quickly. I mean, looking at your career progression, director, managing director, sales director, marketing director, how did you do it? What were the key things you think about yourself that propelled you so high so quickly? Personally,
I'm quite driven. I love solving problems. I don't like questions unanswered. I think that's probably approach. Actions, always put your hand up. You won't figure out what you can and can't do until you're actually in the situation. I learned a lot of lessons the hard way doing that. I definitely had times in my career where I've convinced somebody else I can do something and probably found it a little harder than I thought I could. The biggest lesson actually was I've always how people are treated, getting the best out of people, has been a consistent business challenge, and walking the walk was always an aim. So I might always have been looking very closely at the people that I worked for, looking at what they did well, and I really wanted to be able to walk the walk. So absolutely thrilled when I got the opportunity to do that and run a national company, become managing director myself. And within 12 short months, I discovered I didn't like it.
Oh.
I really didn't like it, because actually what I really missed was what I describe as the trading. It is actually being in the conversation with the people making your business happen, and not just doing management of Excel spreadsheets. So whilst that was very important for my own sense of accomplishment to get there, it wasn't the best place for me to get fulfillment out of my day. But still the same thing, still putting your hand up. So even in that scenario, putting your hand up for mentoring, putting your hand up for helping other people, whether it's young people, startups, whatever it is. And I love my network for that. My network know me for that. If they need something, or they want to be introduced to someone, or that's something I've gotten fairly good at along the way too.
Are you frightened of anything?
Oh, I think the thing that, if there were one thing I would be frightened of, it would be regret.
Oh.
However terrifying this business gets from your own personal circumstances, from that point of view, I couldn't not do it. In 10 years' time, I would look back and regret not doing it. So, no, I definitely won't be having any of those.
You're a motorcyclist as well. Have you got a motorbike at the moment?
I've had two. I don't have one of my own at the moment. My midlife crisis, in that after having in my childhood spent some time pillion on the back of a motorbike with my dad, change of direction in my life, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to give this a go. So actually completed the first 2 stages, which I've done twice over. I haven't taken my big bike test, which I hope to be able to do at some point in the future. But yes, so at the moment I'm spending a lot of the time on the back of my partner's motorcycle, but I'm able to ride one myself.
Have you ever attempted anything in life and haven't been able to do it?
Well, the most recent of that probably would have been taking my A-class motorcycle test. That's definitely been a little bit of a challenge, and something that I've attempted to do and then had to pause. It's not something I've given up on. I think, that's a tough one. I obviously choose not to remember. There must be something.
Have you had any mentors?
Well, mentoring, I have. Mentoring and coaching is something that I've grown to learn the benefit. I've grown to recognise and appreciate the benefit of. I wish I'd had it years ago. So often, especially as you said earlier, when you're promoted often and quickly, you're not in a job for a long time to establish those relationships, because everybody else has got you on this fast track program. It's a part of my business life I wish I'd engaged a lot earlier. So I have a coach now, and I have 3 or 4 people who have very different skill sets, who I would definitely class as mentors. I might not tell them that. They might get a bit scared, but that and a coach, yes, definitely. It's so powerful.
Tell me about the mentoring that you do.
So the most gratifying would probably be with the younger community. So one of the full-time positions that I've held was launching a digital platform for young people to help them get into work. Changing times at the moment between university and apprenticeships, etc.
Was that the Milestone project?
Yes, it was. And a platform called Alchemy, which is up and running now. Being able to give confidence to a young person, especially around the age of 16, 18. My own boys are 23 and 21 now. So I've had some very personal experience too, but their confidence really is lacking. And yet the media around them leads them to believe they should be able to do anything that they want to. That plus the deepening political kind of crisis type conversation that's going on at the moment, I think that really undoes the confidence of our young people. And just being able to, as I said, give them a little bit of self-belief, help them set smart goals for themselves, understand what might be a realistic goal for themselves, that I gain a lot of satisfaction out of that, a lot.
How long have you been doing that for?
Probably unofficially ever since my children were of that age, because you just generally do talk to them and their friends, and it is something that I love doing. So that would be quite a few years, and I certainly still do that now through some charitable organisations. There's a women's organisation that I mentor with, who gives programs of mentoring to young women who work in the third sector. who financially just wouldn't be able to receive any management development, professional development services. So it's great to be able to take the best bits of all of the mentoring and support that you've had and just pass that along down the line a little. Really, really great. And I now, having been through, I'm at a time of my life now where I can do that all over again, because having just been through a very intensive accelerator program for the new business, I've also been introduced to a new group of mentoring and a new type of coaching for the business and for me and the team. So I've just been given a whole other wealth of knowledge and experience that I can share too.
Other than that, who's influenced you most in your life?
Oh, my dad. Without a shadow of a doubt, my dad. He's a legend. He definitely gave me my work ethic. If you want something in life, you should work for it. I'd like to find the right words to explain, but I'd like to think I was particularly, as a young woman, was brought up to believe I can achieve anything that I want to. That was kind of never questioned in my house. My voice, my contribution was always just as valid as anybody else's. And I can often tell him now that through my adult life and my professional career, the impact of all of that has been huge, absolutely huge. So yeah, a massive influence. And the other would, of course, would be my sons. We're quite close in age, closer than perhaps some, and the fact that they can share the pace of change in our digital world at the moment, it challenges, it refreshes, it gives me a new perspective, and they absolutely influence and impact my thinking all the time too.
You mentioned earlier that you have this enormous network, so you're meeting an awful lot of people. Out of everybody in the world, who would you most like to meet? And what question would you like to ask them?
I had to think about that one. And I was really thinking about who, over the past 5 to 10 years, has taken a subject that would quiet a room or empty a room even really very quickly through boredom and non-interest, and really changed an entire debate around a conversation. And for me, that would be Dr. Brian Cox. Oh. So he has taken the whole conversation of science, particularly, and astrology, etc., astronomy, etc., and not only made it palatable, but made it topical and made it exciting. I would really love to have the discussion with him. How do we do that for health? How do we get that conversation going amongst the general population, and start to really make a difference in crisis like obesity? That would be amazing.
And to round things off, a final message to your future clients, ISIS clients, to invite them to come and see you on the platform.
Oh, definitely. So I think for anyone at the moment who has a sense in themselves that they're not equipped yet to really be in control of their health, when those conversations arise and for the third time in the year you might try another diet, you might still have a gym membership, you go, and the time that you pause and you do go to ask maybe a nutrition-based question to the physical trainer that's there on hand, in this age, in this digital age, seek out the truth. seek out the people that are qualified and really able to help you in the same way that you would take a health issue to a GP. We will be there. We will be much more visible, and we will be equipped to give you the tools to regain control of your health.
Kim Guest, founder of Isoshealth, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Andrea. It was lovely.